Let's break down this map first. This is what, Infernal Pools or something like that. So I'm going to be in my shoes. Okay, so we're going to break down this map. There's a lot of different ways to play this map for sure. There's so many expansions. And Zerg can get out of control really fast. Because of how far everything is away, for the third base, that's the place I'm trying to capitalize the most. So you have to ask yourself when your builds are going to be capping and when they're going to be like the strongest. So my build in particular is really good at like 9 minutes to 11 minutes. That's where my build is going to focus upon. Why? Because I'm getting barracks really, really quickly. I'm getting a lot of Hellions, non-stop production of Hellions. So all of this is leading towards a really good mid-game stage, but then I trail off as soon as upgrades hit from my opponent, if they're able to stabilize, etc., etc. But if I'm able to do a good amount of damage, I can stay alive with them in that mid-game stage and everything's good to go. Close positions and cross positions, very, very different. Close positions vertically and close positions horizontally, you play them very different because of the gold base existing. Now, just think, if we were playing bottom left versus bottom right, there's no way in hell that you would be able to take the gold expansion as Terran or Zerg. That's going to be the major place of contestation, and we're both going to be expanding upwards. The gold base gives you a lot of power, right? You're able to get a really nice saturation super, super quickly, and you're able to actually produce off of more than 3 base economy, which is not standard. That's why unit heavy stuff makes a lot more sense, and then slowly getting the upgrades. Because if you get upgrades, you're going to be behind by a lot, right? Well, it's not necessarily, but ordinarily, like if you're getting upgrades, you're playing very passive, and because I have so many units out in the field, I'm going to have the better engagements. I'm going to be able to set up better concaves, because concaves are really what make this map, right? It's so big, it's so open, you don't want to be in a situation where you don't have enough units, and then banelings are just going to wrap around and kill you. Likewise, you don't want so many Marines just jamming down your throat, and you're not able to deal with it. So this is the slight variation. We normally see a third command center coming up around this time, 5:45. That's super standard for macro play. Instead of that command center, I'm putting down 2 additional barracks immediately. This is to get the Marine production and go for Marine Hellion. Makes sense. Anyway, close vertically and close vertically and cross positions are played different than what I was talking about before. Close vertically, you have that gold expansion for yourself. That means you have to get a lot more barracks a lot quicker. The timings are going to be very, very different to keep up with your macro. And cross positions, you have to be playing the denial of like 6 base or 5 base, because all expansions are going to be closing in towards you, right? The more you expand when you're cross position, it's going to be closer to your opponent. And it's nice that Terran has that little advantage of having the island expansion on this map in particular, but normally it doesn't make a huge difference. Zerg can actually take advantage of that really nicely. If they get a drone over there, they're able to defend it with mutas pretty effectively. But what's most important in this is where my units are going to be attacking and why, right? Where my units are going to be attacking and why. And this is the central location. I want my units attacking this way, and then having a home base around this section. Why is that? It's because it's going to segment his army in half. So it's either all of his units are going to be positioned over here to defend me, or positioned over here to defend me. And that gives me options to attack the right side or the left side. So you say to him, you want to lose your main base and your natural, or do you want to lose all your healthy expansions? And it puts Zerg in this really awkward position of, oh God, I have nowhere good to defend. I have nowhere good to go about this. Now, personally, on such a big map, if I'm Zerg in this spot, do you know what I'm doing? I have all this shit, mining it out. I go to the gold. I start taking these bases. And this is the easiest thing I think all Zerg should do. Spawning pool, Baneling Nest, Ultralisk Cavern, Spire. Wow, you just relocated everything. relocate to the top right-hand corner and make it really hard for Terran yet again to be able to segment and put your army in this bad position, right? Because if you're off creep like this and having fights off creep, you're not probably going to get the best trades. And that's why he was saying, oh, wow, infestors suck. Yeah, you should probably be teching over to ultras. But regardless, I think his overall plan puts him in the defensive 100% of the time, and it lets me expand freely. If he attacks down here or anything with a planetary fortress, think about how much he has to commit to that, right? It's a lot of Zerglings, a lot of Banelings, it's Mutas, something like that. It leaves an opening somewhere on the map. So I think you can play a very clustered style as Zerg and just go 4 base off of these, and then slowly transition. Once you get your 5th base, say, fuck it, I'm not going to try to defend the top left. Let's just stay here. So this position is probably the most important. And this is where we want to be focusing, getting rid of creep, putting a lot of pressure on our opponents. For now, it's just making sure that he's not taking the gold freely. I want to harass him. I want him to kind of be punished. These roaches are opportunity costs. Okay? These roaches are stopping him from getting a super fast lair, from getting a super fast spire tech, all this stuff. But at the same time, he realizes he can kind of get away with it because gold bases give you so much. But this base needs to be pressured a lot. Also, you can see his 1-1 is super fast. I mean, this is coming in probably at 7 minutes that he made this. And that's why I think 7:45, you at least have to get your +1 weapons to stay relevant. And then you can go on from there. So this next attack shouldn't really have a big engagement until this +1 and honestly combat shields are both finished. But you have to do something at the same time. So I'm off creep. I know I can get away. I have stim, so this is why I'm staying up doing this. And of course, just attacking the top. In the meantime, let's look at the transition. I have my gold base. I'm going to be getting a ton more barracks. My macro is actually really bad at this point. A ton more barracks. You can see I'm keeping up in the upgrades because if I don't keep up in the upgrades, I'm 100% dead. So I have to do that. And eventually I'm going to be going into starport tech and stuff like that. But I'm making sure that I can keep up. You know, even though I stress so much in units in this early game stage, I really don't have a lot of units relative to him. Like, it's not a huge advantage over my opponent. If we look at the army, like it's not that much. It's maybe 45 seconds worth of an advantage right now in terms of just how much it costs, sheerly in as much as it costs. And a lot of my production is also back here. He has defender's advantage, so he should have a production cycle ahead of me. So technically, all I have really is position on him. That's it. I don't have a huge army advantage because he's gotten Zergling Roaches in the beginning. So really have to play very, 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 very careful with this force not to lose it. Because it's very well that it could go, 50-50. It can go either or. So it definitely helps me just get rid of these what's it called? These extractors as best as possible. Looks like I didn't get rid of that extractor. And wow, he gets this 4th base super fast. I really think he should have been getting the 4th base over near his main base. Man, this was such a sick engage. Such a sick engagement. And he even had 1-1 in that fight, and I only had +1-0. So this is natural, and now I'm just going to mass up. Again, my main focus is right here. I'm never really wanting to fight on creep. Fighting on creep is the absolute worst. It just gives Banelings so much more potential to do damage. And when I'm this marine heavy, Banelings can do a ton of damage. What would it be like if I wasn't so marine heavy? I would have a lot more Marauders in this composition. It looks like I did have a decent amount. But you can see, here's the next stage, okay? It's applying pressure so it makes it feel like my opponent can die at any time. That's what I need to do on big maps. That's what you have to do on big maps. Unless you want to play like a Villo and then QQ every single time that you lose, it's because if you give a Zerg a lot of time to set up and get their muta count, you're going to die. It doesn't matter. I could put like 12 turrets right here, and it does not matter because they're going to take 50 mutas, wipe it out really quickly, and I'm left with like, oh my god, mutas are the most OP thing ever. Why do they regen so fast? Why are they moving so fast? That's not what you want to have happen. That's why I'm constantly pressuring this front. I have to. If I don't, I'm dead. I'm literally dead. And it's this fine line that you have to play. The micro here, I do want to mention really quick. When I have all my units clumped up, it's on 1. What I do is I stim, and then I quickly hold control, and I left click my Marines. And that's going to grab just the Marines. And then I swing them back as fast as possible, and I'm just splitting Marines. I want my Marauders to be slowing as much as possible. Normally they're slowing the front. And if any Zerglings or Banelings attach to those Marauders, they give me so much value. Also, if they don't, let's say they just walk past it, that's a lot of micro that they have to do to keep up with me, right? So I'm just forcing them to micro more. And I'm forcing, well, I'm not forcing, but I'm making it possible for there to be mistakes. And that's what a lot of these strategy games are about, forcing other people to make mistakes. Obviously, this is really nice. I knew this force was probably going to die, but I killed a couple Banelings here. So, on top of me always, pressuring, it's always good to trade too. If you can get Banelings from Marine Marauder, because if you're killing Banelings, they can't remake stuff. They can't remake, well, of course they can remake stuff, but they can't make mutas, right? Because they still have to be careful because they have no Banelings on the field. Marine Marauder can just wreck you at that point. So that's why you need to constantly be having these trades. And you can see that I'm going to turret up a little bit more every single time there's a big trade, because that's when mutas can actually do stuff. That's when they can really put the pressure on me. He could just get a huge wave of mutas and then kill me if he's playing super aggro. If he's not, then he's doing this and getting Banelings yet again. And I'm trying to keep the pressure on and just eliminate as much creep as possible. Definitely maybe a little bit too prematurely, but we're going to have these fights continuously. And we're going to just try our best to always have those Banelings trade out. If he ever stays in the Baneling count, actually, this is a perfect example of him trying to switch over to mutas and then getting absolutely crushed. There's a lot more mutas than before. 20 mutas out in the field, okay? And he, instead of going Banelings, he went a lot of mutas. And he went for this engagement and got absolutely fucked. This is the perfect reason why when you're trading, you have to add on the mutas very, very, very slowly in DVT. You can't do it so fast. You need Banelings out in the field to be able to deal with the constant pressure if Terran is doing this right. God. It's like I'm attacking the microphone right now. That's what it feels like. This is not the greatest engagement. Again, this is where he's going to gain value just for the fact that he's on creep. He instantly, it doesn't matter what happens here, he instantly gets like 5, 6, 7, 8 more Marines than he should just because the Baneling hits. So that's giving the Baneling hits like an increase of maybe 20, 30%. That's a pretty large percent that I do not want to have happening. And I obviously lose everything just because I'm off creep. Or I'm on creep, excuse me. Definitely not a good situation. Here is a good time if I'm Zerg, where I'm getting a shit ton of mutas right now. And it looks like he doesn't have the money to. He just started 2-2. Actually, it makes sense. He doesn't have the gas to. He just traded off a lot of units there, and he doesn't have his 7th and 8th gases. So everything seems standard. You can see that my constant trades are keeping him on this lair tech. That's exactly where I want him to be. So obviously my upgrades are coming in, and his are not. 2-1 against 1-1 right now in favor of Terran. And I'm just going to keep being annoying as hell. These queens are... I can't let them go, like, unabated. I have to do something about it. So you can see I'm always sharking around, trying to do something about it, etc., etc. This is definitely where I would say I need a 5th base, if anything. Like, I'm starting to mine out my main and natural. So a 5th base, getting it around now would be good. You can see how patient and careful I'm trying to be. We're just trying to bait fights, right? We're not actually trying to have the fights go disadvantageously. So when I'm here, this fight is completely off creep. This is exactly where I want it to be, right? Because the more off creep I can be, the better it is against the Banelings. Units tab, how many units does he have? 21. Wow. That was such a good fight for me. And from here, I knew I was going to get a lot Once I have a trade like that, you can see also where I'm taking my advantages. I'm not necessarily taking my advantages in expansions or anything. I'm actually doing it in terms of creep and where my positioning of the units are. That's something that a lot of people don't really stress enough, I think, is that position a lot of times is a lot more important than having some sort of like material advantage. Right? Position gains you material advantage a little bit later on. Just like in chess, you know, if I'm like 2 moves away from mating you, it doesn't matter that you have equal material to me. You're still going to lose the game. And it's the same way in StarCraft. People just need to realize that position, just because it doesn't have a monetary value, or it's hard for people to place a monetary value on it in terms of minerals and gas, it's still really, really important. So again, having this good cost-effective trades. Again, you can see the Marines split back. This is really unfortunate. I was actually planning this drop, but I think I let this drop go in the middle of this fight. But still, I have everything. See my one group. Everything's on that one group, and I just left click, control left click all my Marines, bring them back, and then get ready to micro them. I guess I didn't get ready to micro them too well. Not well at all. And of course, this is going out here to the... Okay. I love this minefield, by the way. It's really good to make sure like I'm keeping my opponent back. Okay, so the real question is, why am I pushing over here? What value does attacking this top right-hand side have? And you're going to see a turning point for Zerg where I start to lose out on a lot of these battles. Let's just watch and see, and then we'll go over and analyze why it was so bad to do this cross position push. Although I don't mind cleaning up this much creep. This is nice. This is scary. I fought on creep as well. So why does stuff like this happen, right? How come all of a sudden I just go cross map? It's literally just a 20-second walk over here, and there's such a huge difference. There's a couple of reasons, but first, what does this have to do with winning the game? Why do I want to move into this position? And a lot of people would say, oh, you want to kill this base, you want to kill this base, you want to stop them from going on. Now let's put all the things together of what we need to have in order for us to win. We need to win a battle where our entire 200 army is over in this centerpiece right here, right? Because if I'm going to have a battle, I need as much of my army over there as possible. And technically, if we're 200 against 200, it's going to be a situation where it's 50-50, right? It's going to be down to micro. It's going to be down to army composition a lot of times as well, but it's going to be down to micro a lot of the times. This is one of the toughest positions for all of my units to rally to. And also, it basically says, this is what my actions kind of say. It says, I'm going to beat you over in this area enough to just swing over and kill this, and then kill this and win the game. So let's think of all the things that need to happen. I need to win I first need to have all my units over here at the same time. How hard is that to happen? That means I give up in this position. I allow the creep spread to regrow. I basically give up a lot of space that I worked so hard for this whole game. Okay, so I give up this position. I also need to have all my rallies over here. So that's going to delay me by 50 seconds, right? 50 seconds, 20 seconds, right? And then I have to wait additionally for all my units to pop out from here all the way to over here. So that's going to give it another minute, let's just say. So I need my 200 army to be over here. I need about a minute of prep time to get here. Is that really going to happen? I'm going to say no. It's going to happen here a lot easier because I'm already pushed up here, and it's a lot easier for me to congregate my units. But over here, when there's banelings that could be hitting around here, banelings that can come from here, I can be completely surrounded. It gets very, very dicey very fast. On top of that, I was attacking off creep, or on creep. I keep doing that. But what I'm trying to say is the push distance over here is a lot easier, and I've been working this whole game to push over here. So why not instead of having the attack happen over here, the main attack happen over here, have the harasses happen over there, and then have the main attack happen over here. That makes a lot of sense. Also, I forgot to mention that one of the things that we need to happen after the big battle, I need to win so much that he cannot remax or remake a ton of units and then kill the residual army directly after that. That's a lot of hoops that you have to kind of weave through in order to actually take the top right bases. So it doesn't really make too much sense to do that unless they reestablished over to the top right completely. If they reestablished to the top right completely, I need to reassess how I'm attacking. I need to reassess where I'm really going. And honestly, if they're re-expanding to the top right, my focus is actually not going to be attacking to the top right. It's going to be denying this base. It's going to be denying this base, and keeping them, again, on 2-base production. So it doesn't make sense for my main army to be going the longest route possible, right? It doesn't make sense for them to be going cross-map. It makes sense for harasses, not for large attacks. Just because they can always remax or at least re-get a lot of units. So this is where you're going to see me lose out in a lot of value by pushing over here. And then I think like my brain starts working again and I go to the same place that I have been for the whole time, for the whole game. Again, pressing up, and I want to press up. My next objective is to split the bases completely and be able to know where his mutas are and then push across. Okay. Look at this. That was the sickest. I'm going to go back a little bit. If I fought this on creep, there is zero chance that I would be able to win this or get back alive. But it's because I'm fighting off creep, and it's such a unknown for him. He really doesn't know whether it's a good engagement or not, and he's just going to go with it in general. And again, grouping all my Marines back, moving back, having a great engagement. That was a fuck ton of Banelings for him to lose. That's what I'm analyzing in that last fight. Wow, that's a lot of Banelings to lose. Okay, it means that he needs to remake Banelings, and he doesn't have a large mutant count. I'm going to just drop back. Everything's going to be okay. I know he's not on... Well, actually, while I was in game, I was actually worried that he had this completely saturated, but thankfully he did not. So we were on... Look at this. Look at this. Supplies are basically even. How fucking sick is this game that Blizzard has this, like, worked out this much? That's so sick. It's a 24-minute game. There's so many variables that happen, and it still turns out to be, like, very, very close. Again, should not be engaging like this probably. I want to be harassing, not having any confrontations over here. Even though it was only 2 medevac production, still not that good. Okay, so we're going to look at the next main engagement. Good. I've almost forgot what happens in this game. But not. One thing I could say, I could definitely use a lot more harassment tools, and also taking this watchtower to give me the ability to have really good drops, right? If they can't see it coming, it'll be a lot more helpful. Okay, looking for a next main engagement. And this is where I finally say, okay, his mutas are on the left-hand side. I scanned, made sure that was the case, and I'm now going to go push in. Now, there should be a scan right here to see exactly where he's committing to, because this is going to be like a YOLO swag 100% of the time. But this main army, I do not want to be losing, especially the medevacs here. So scan, I think, is very, very important. I back up, everything looks good, and then I'm going to... No, Andre, what are you doing? Wow, so much value lost right here. And this is gigantic. This is a huge turning point in my game. In this game, I should say. Oh my god. That was gorgeous. And I just killed the hatchery in GTFO. Again, trying to kill as much creep as possible, and I'm anticipating him coming back. And we're just going to aggress up. You can see, I'm just putting a stake in the ground ever so slightly. And it's netting me Getting me advantages, that's for sure. And this is going to be a rinse and repeat. And you can see how hard it is for him. Like, where does he position his army? He has to defend this area. He has to defend this area. He has to defend 180 degrees of the map, and also the farthest place, or not the farthest, but like, you know, horizontally the farthest you can go on this map. That's really tough. That's why I think relocating is probably the best way to go on this, and not staying in the top left-hand corner. Oh man, the creep cleanup is so nice. And doing the same thing, putting pressure in the center, putting pressure up here, trying to kill the top left-hand corner. And now what I like is I'm setting up a combination drop because I know he's going to be eventually defending this. Oh yeah, I did the expansion checks all around the map to make sure he wasn't doing anything silly. He blamed it on infestors at the later stages, but it had nothing to do with infestors in my opinion. This makes 0 sense. 0 sense. I remember doing this and I was like, what are you doing with your life, Andre? So I'm basically saying, hey, come over here to my Marines and Marauders that are in this position. And at the same time, I have a drop that's about to be in that same, like, pretty close to this 5th base. What I should be doing is drilling in here again and not going over here, because this lets the defense of this happen a lot better. And on top of that, I can, honestly, it gives my attack more time to maybe even go down to the 4th base and do something over there. So it really doesn't make sense for me to clear up creep at the same time. If anything, if I want to clear up creep, send 4 units over here, scan, and then really drill down here at the same time. That's what I really want to be doing. He tried to do this weird attack. And I'm just GTFOing as fast as possible. Man, his investor control is not the best. Alright, and this is the first time, I think, I do some sort of combination, because I know he's going to be defending this, so that's why I picked up here immediately. And what I should be doing is drilling into this base as fast as possible. But at this point, I'm pretty sure I have the win. There's no way that he can really come back into this. Also, I'm taking expansions, making sure I'm at least at 2 base, which is nice. I am. And, well, he cannot keep up. And that's the game. Wow, what a sick game, man. And I got back into Masters. Feels good to get back into Masters. It really does. He has no Banelings, he has no Zerglings. Mutas are just going to shred this apart. Or, excuse me, Marauders are going to just shred this apart. There's no chance for him. What a sick game. What a sick game. So, TLDR, don't be pushing cross-map ever. Let your harasses kill this top right, kill this. If they relocate, start your next plan is actually going to be deny these bases, and you're going to go into another long game. You can take this expansion, and you yourself want to take these bottom bases. And as long as you maintain pressure and you're able to keep the mutas at bay, you should be able to win the game. And at least make it a lot tougher.